plenty of evidence online of that weakness. They are essentially quite weak people. I mean, you get them tooled up, and they're really good when they're taking on kids and little mums. But you get them to drop their badge and gun and put them in front of someone who can handle themselves, you watch them run. And they do. And they do. They're boys. They're cowards. They're weak. They have no spine. They've got no intestinal fortitude. They're the red hats. So it's not our job to do that. Okay? Leave the red hats. Our job is not to disarm them. Then you've got the orange hats. Now, who are the orange hats? The orange hats are the people who believe the TV. Right? If Peter Creedon says it must be true because Peter's a woman and she wouldn't lie to me because I'm a woman too. And that's unfortunately the level of discernment that we get. And then you've got Paul Murray, Alan Jones, Andrew Bolt, and those clowns. I call them the Four Stooges because they just parrot whatever they have to parrot. Okay, and people believe them. And then you've got the ABC, like the buttress. And yet all of them are silent on the paedophile protection order. So why the hell would you want to listen to someone who's not telling you the truth about one of the most foundationally important issues in this country? The pedophiles run the show. That Masonic filth, and for those of you who aren't up to speed on this, the Masons aren't just an organisation for gentlemen to advance their business interests, or that's how it starts. If you're into raping babies, you get to this next level. And if you're into satanic ritual abuse, and it's real, and it used to be reported until they shut it down, you can see print media clippings and a current affair with Ray Martin interviewing people on satanic ritual abuse. It's real, it's here. And they're the bad people that actually run this show.
Thank you.
They won't touch it. Why won't they touch it? Because they're part of the problem. They're part of the problem. And so the orange hats watch the news and believe it. And they're good people. And they say things like, Scott Morrison knew, he'd do something about it. Or, Anthony Albanese's a good bloke, he just has been told. Yeah, right. They know exactly what's going on. So the orange hats. What moves the orange hats? How do you persuade them? Have you tried to persuade orange hats before and you just get nothing? The only thing that persuades them, or one of the primary weapons, is evidence of crime. Okay, so the orange hats will sit there and they'll be glued to the TV, and then the news article comes up and says, the Minister for Trees was arrested for pedophilia. And they'll believe it. And they'll go, oh, that's a terrible issue. Locked away. Now, here's a bit of something here. If we removed every trusted face on the media and put somebody else there and started telling them the truth, would the orange hats believe that? Not one bit. So what you've got to do is you leave the trusted faces, inverted commas, and you change the narrative through the trusted faces. Does that make sense? This is how human psychology works. This is how human psychology works. It's painful. I'd love to see those four off the screen, but you can't hear them. Because the people who believe those four have to hear the truth from those four. Make sense? Now, have you noticed that the news stories have changed in the last few months?
Yes.
Remember I said get through to Christmas, and then the first 3 months are going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to be better? Because now we're getting the stories. Now, as you know, there are acres and acres of information about what's going on in this country. But it's not getting through to the people because the media is the wall holding this tide of truth back, this megalitres of water of truth back. The cracks are starting to form in the wall. We're starting to get stories now that we would not have got 2 months ago, at all. In fact, the one this morning was brilliant. Mick Fuller, the former Commissioner for the New South Wales Police, was denied a seat on the racing board of New South Wales. And it was news, and they allowed this young ABC reporter, this is the breathtaking part, and he did a brilliant job, and they gave him time to do the full story about his connections to, let's say, colourful racing identities and part ownership in horses with a trainer who'd been done to doping multiple times. So what would a police commissioner do? So you got it? And so let this guy do the whole story in full on the ABC of all places, the Australian Bolshevik Collective. And so what's happening is the stories are coming through. This is the way it must be done. We must give the people the information in a manner in which they can understand it and accept it, and then we start to shift the orange hats. Evidence of crime. Oh, that's terrible. Evidence of crime, that's terrible. And the whole goal is to move them away from the black hats towards the white hats. That makes sense? So when you're doing a strategy, for example, you look at all the players, all the stakeholders, and you look at their strengths, weaknesses, needs, wants, and sensitivities, you break them down, and you understand each one, and you'll talk to one like this person's arrested, oh my God, that's good. And you'll talk to the others in a different way. So they're the orange hats. So the media is slowly, the messages are coming through, and there's a reason why the messages are now being allowed through. Does that make sense? They are being allowed through. The story's always been there. Now, what can you deduce from that? Because you're smart. Here's the dude calling the shots who's getting orders from here. Now, if all of a sudden the orders from here come from somebody else, but he doesn't know somebody else, and he's now calling, the media starts to tell the stories that we need to hear. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not saying the white hats are controlling the black hats, but there's a strong resemblance to that cause and effect. Does that make sense? That's why it's coming through. That's why you're going to be patient. That's why you're going to understand it's a long, slow process. I'd love this over tomorrow. I've got 2 little boys who are trying to homeschool me. They're suffering like everybody else. But we've got to keep going. That's the process. Now we've got the yellow hats. So we've got the red hats, the orange hats, and the yellow hats. Unfortunately, the yellow hats comprise about half the country. And this is the sad part. They don't care. They just don't care. This is the reality. Don't get upset by it. This is the reality. They don't care. You can show them pictures of satanic ritual abuse, full-term abortion, pedophilia, all these bad things, and I'll go, no, don't show me. And it doesn't affect me. All I want to do is get my money, pay my mortgage, and watch Netflix. And please leave me alone. And they will accept an increasingly small cage as long as they are left alone. Does that make sense? Folks, that's half the country. That's why it's so difficult. That's why, as George Washington said, if you want to be a leader, and every one of you here is a leader, believe it or not, you have to be a leader. Everyone has to lead the country, you lead your family, your town, your city, your state. Patience, patience, and patience. Patience, patience, and patience. There's a story about a man sitting in a park with a little boy, and the little boy was screaming and yelling and carrying on, and the gentleman kept saying, be patient, Harold, be patient, Harold. And the little boy just kept screaming and screaming, be patient, Harold, be patient. And a woman was watching. She walked across to the old gentleman and said, I've been watching you being remarkably patient with young Harold here. And he said, no, my name's Harold. We have to demonstrate extraordinary patience to help people get to where they need to be. Now, who here woke up, was born, knowing everything they know now? Show of hands, anybody? No, we were all asleep at some point, correct? And at some point we went, oh, what have I been doing? And we started going down rabbit holes, and the journey's a common one, correct? But at some point we're all going through this like all of us. So don't be too hard on them. Communicate with them in a way that makes sense to them. Red hats, arrest the black hats. Orange hats, evidence of crime. Now what's going to move the yellow hats? The yellow hats are the ones, as I said, don't want to know. You can show them evidence of everything if they don't care. Why? Who knows? They just don't care. So, there's where you want them to be, and they're sort of like this. And they are terrified of moving forward, because they will lose what they've got. I couldn't imagine them used to live like that, to be so frightened of forward movement. Their risk profile is near zero. And the only reason to make them move forward is if what's behind them is more terrifying. And terrifying to them. Getting zapped by L rats? No, I just won't go. Pedophiles? I'll just stay up here. It'll be things like I'll lose my job, I can't go to the pub with my mates, I can't make my mortgage. Practical stuff that they just hang on to because they've got nothing else in their life. Nothing. That's a sad place to be. So, although it calls me to do it, I have to, when I speak, I have to use language and scenarios that resonate with all those different coloured groups. Does that make sense? So one thing I'm talking about pedophilia, the next thing I'm talking about evidence of crime, the next thing I'm saying you won't be able to make your mortgage payments. They are taking your house. And I talk about the digitisation of the land titles and selling it to a private corporation because it's just a land grab. And they go, what? Yeah, you're going to lose your land. You're going to have a land. Where's your land title? I haven't got it. It's online. Oh shit, it's gone. And all of a sudden, you see what we're doing? The fear of losing then losing what they value most. So understand, this is not an amorphous mass and not every weapon or piece of information works. After the yellow hats were the green hats, that's us. We were awake, we know what we do, green for go, we're ready to go. Does that make sense? And we're ready to fight and we're ready to stay